This is the DJI Mavic Air. Released back in 2018, it was ahead of its time with features and technology that come standard in today's drones. 4 years later, is it still viable in 2022, or is it an obsolete dinosaur? In today's video, we delve right into that. When this drone was released, it was the smallest in DJI's lineup. In fact, it was the first drone of its size to feature rear obstacle avoidance. Now, starting off, the one thing I love so much about this drone was its design. Yes, the Mavic lineup was pretty drab, gray, generic. When this drone came out, you had different color options. It was a totally different design. It was something new. It was something fresh. It wasn't something that was just recycled. That's what really made this drone stand out, especially this color, the flame red. And there were subtle little design cues that really made this drone stand out. When you held it in your hand, it felt premium. There was nothing cheap feeling about this drone. Now, one radical design on this drone was the battery placement, which loaded from the bottom, which has never been done before or since. Everything else about this drone simply worked. One of the best features of this drone was the gimbal cover. It's very frustrating after you're done flying, trying to get the gimbal cover back on. The best thing about the Mavic Air is that it had notches in the side. We can just slide it right on, and it took the guesswork right out of it. And in my personal opinion, this cover was the best gimbal protector that DJI ever designed. The Mavic Air was also the first in a couple of other different categories. It was the first to have the APAS system, which meant you flew above or around objects. Also the first to have 8 gigabytes of internal storage. And the camera was pretty good, 4K 30, 1/2 inch CMOS sensor, 3-axis gimbal, better than the Mavic Pro's camera. The Mavic Air's biggest weakness was the video transmission system, which utilized enhanced Wi-Fi. The antenna were mounted in the legs, which in theory was supposed to make the signal better. However, it was pretty bad. And I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I felt like the clamshell design of this controller just worked for me. The way the phone fit on the bottom, it felt really good in my hands. And this was also the first controller that had the removable thumbsticks, which has now become commonplace on every DJI controller. In my opinion, I feel like the newer controller is more top-heavy. The only downside to this design is that if you had your phone inside of a case, I use the iPhone for example, in order to get a snug fit in the controller, you had to remove the phone from the case. Now, this design was carried over to the Mavic 2, which would later be released the same year, and the Mavic Mini. The only downside with the Mini controller is that you had far less buttons in order to customize different functions. And the Mini would be the last time we would see this controller. It's since been phased out for the larger controller where your phone sits in the top. But I was never a big fan of that controller. I always felt that this controller was the most portable. It fit in your pocket really easily, more so than the newer controller. So let's take the drone out for a flight, and I will show you some of the pros and the cons of the Mavic Air. Starting with one of the most obvious, the ridiculous noise level. Let's see how this signal does. I know there's a set of power lines right there, so I'm gonna make sure to get over them. We should be high enough. Let's see how far we can get before we lose signal. So far so good. You're like 1,000 feet away. This drone don't do too bad when you're in a good spot. You don't have a lot of interference. When you have a clear line of sight, it don't do too bad. But, I mean, it is Wi-Fi. So already we got weak transmission signal. So we're gonna go a little bit further. And as you can see already, the signal is not that good. Look, yeah, see? Okay, that's a new one. Extended flight distance. Yeah, look, weak antenna. Yeah. See? And I got the antenna pointed right at it. But, yep. And there it went. There it went. So at this point, I was trying to cancel the return to home because, for one, I hate that ridiculous beeping. I'm glad they did away with that. And two, I had regained the video feed and I had full control of the drone. However, the app did not want to cooperate. I kept getting timeout. Cancel, I say. Yeah. As you can see, the signal is horrible with this. That's the only downside, is the signal. Everything else, not bad. Flight time and signal. Now, this drone had an advertised flight time of 21 minutes, but with the battery, you were lucky to get about 15. One of the only issues with owning this drone is that finding batteries can be rather difficult because it's out of production. Originally, these batteries were about $85, but now if you buy them off of Amazon, it's around $200. Your best bet, of course, is to look on eBay. You can find some decent deals there. So would I recommend this drone in 2022? Actually, yes, I would, because you can find some really good deals. When this drone first came out, it was about $1,000. Now you can have one off of eBay for about $350 to $400, and a lot of times that includes the Fly More kit, which has extra batteries. And this drone is better than a Mavic Mini, in my opinion, especially for a beginner because of all the additional features that it has, and the DJI Go 4 app, which is way more comprehensive than the Fly app. So when you look at these two side by side, you can see what I'm talking about. The one on the right is the Mavic Air 2S, which is the third version of the Mavic Air. But they went back to that same gray color, which I'm not a fan of. I also picked up a set of the original DJI goggles, which work with the Mavic Air for less than $300 on eBay. And curiously enough, these goggles work with the Mavic Pro, the Mavic 2, the Spark, the Mavic Air, even the Phantom line, but yet the new DJI FPV goggles only work with that one drone. So I think this one is a keeper. So what is your opinion? Do you have a Mavic Air? Have you had one since the beginning? Are you looking to get one maybe? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Catch you in the next video.